Good morning, afternoon, evening, Dawn of War 2 fans. It's your boy Torpid bringing you another cast here. Today we're going to be watching a replay between the Herald playing as the Chaos Lord and Genoesse Nerf playing as the Inquisitor. Is that even Genoesse? Man, these names. Honestly, I feel for the teachers in schools who have to read out all these names. I remember those embarrassing situations where they didn't know how to say Siobhan. But they didn't know how to say Neve. Yeah, very Irish upbringing. So yeah, these players, they're pretty new. I think Herald was mentioning in one of the Discords, actually, that he played this game 6 years ago. But I don't know how good he got. But yeah, 6 years ago is a long time. A lot can happen in 6 years, let me tell you, folks. So this is one of his first games back. If not his first game back after playing for 6 years. And I don't know this fella. Genoesse Nerf. I'm just going to call him Nerf. Genoesse. Is that Genoesse? I don't know, man. I'm just going to call him Nerf, because I'm not sure about the pronunciation, and I don't want to be wrong. But I've already been wrong, whatever. So yeah, don't expect this to be a super high level game, guys, but we're going to see what we can do here to help out these guys and scrutinise their builds, and you never know, they might have a good scrap. This map generally is quite conducive to producing a decent scrap. So straight away we do see something a little bit odd here. Nerf has actually opted for no Sentinel and no Triple Guardsman. Now I always say Triple Guardsman, now in this current meta, is basically worthless. You would never want Triple Guardsman instead of having 2 Guardsmen and a Sentinel. There's just no instance in which it's better, it's just completely suboptimal. The Guardsmen simply have too much pop cost, it causes you too much upkeep, it's not worth it when a Sentinel doesn't bleed. Guardsmen do. Part of the problem with not going for the Sentinel, obviously, is that you struggle to control things like the Chaos Lord and the melee units. I think one of these heretics, they got on quite close and forced off the other Guardsman squad. There's just no real deterrent. Now, you do have Hammer of the Witches. Okay, so he's going for the crossbow bolt pistol, and that will help him against the melee. However, I'm curious what else Nerf is trying to get. Now, one thing straight away for Nerf, I would not be getting upgrades for my hero when I only have 2 squads on the field. Generally, the upgrades, they're not as cost effective in terms of combat as getting another unit. So then you may ask the question, well, why would you ever get upgrades then? Why don't you just spam units? Well, the reason you get upgrades is because the problem with units is, the more units you have, the more upkeep you have, and eventually, you know, you get a little bit of a bonus early on. If you're under 30 pop, you don't pay any upkeep at all, but then the more units you get after that, the more upkeep you're going to pay, so you run out of requisition. Upgrades don't have that, they don't have upkeep values. So even though 20 power in an upgrade is not as effective as 20 power in a unit, in terms of actually winning army versus army fights, you still get the upgrades, because the upgrades don't cost any upkeep. Also, you'll notice that the upgrades are really disproportionately power intensive compared to units which mostly cost rec. So what I would have done in this case, I would have brushed out the Cadishans first and then got a wargear afterwards. Now, with regards to the wargear, I probably would not have gone for the crossbow bolt pistol. The crossbow bolt pistol is primarily a good way to deal with light infantry. You pew them from afar. It's got 38 range, standard range, 30 DPS. It basically turns her into a ranged hero, right? But it's cool because she actually remains just as competent in melee. She keeps her special attacks and her 35 DPS in melee. The ability is used to control enemy squads. It's mostly useful to control enemy melee. But honestly, right now, I feel like that crossbow bolt pistol isn't going to be very impactful. Especially now there's grenade launcher heretics on the field, and especially knowing that Nerf wanted to go for Cadishans anyway. Cadishans are a dedicated melee counter. They disrupt. I hope he's going to use the crossbow bolt pistol here on the heretics. Like, what? Oh, Nerf, this is not very good, mate. It's a perfect time to use the, what's it called, crippling volley. Could actually have timed crippling volley if you used it here, there, and would have tied up the AC ticks and the Chaos Lord simultaneously. Okay, so Nerf is going for the Cadishans into heavy weapons team. So right now, this composition, it's really good against melee. The heavy weapons team, setup teams in general, hard counter to melee for this reason. The closer you get, the more damage you take, and you get suppressed and you get wrecked. Oh, a bit of a missed macro there from Nerf. Forgot about his Inquisitor, and she drops. Wow, she screamed. She screamed. And then Cadishans obviously get 2 sources of knockback as well, with their old reliable and their explosive shot. Furthermore, they're actually really competent in melee, even though they don't have a melee charge, so using them defensively against other melee can be quite effective. So his build has a lot of melee counters in spite of having no sentinel. Therefore, I would have gone for something different on the Inquisitor. Basically, I would have gone for the Brazier. Why the Brazier? Well, I think that a Rosarius Holy Brazier Inquisitor here would be very difficult for Herald to deal with. Herald at the moment doesn't have much single target DPS. He has CSM, which don't have Eternal War. He has Grenade Launcher Heretics, whose autoguns do 5.42 DPS each, so, you know, they're okay. They're like, what, 1.5 CSM or something? Basically, there's not a lot of ranged DPS out here. I think he could have bullied really hard. Just charge the Inquisitor straight into the Chaos Space Marines. When the AC ticks run in to engage, you drop Holy Pyre defensively near your units, and it debuffs the AC ticks damage, and it also makes them take a little bit of damage over time. Furthermore, looking at the composition that Nerf has at the moment, if I was Herald, I would have got Raptors. Raptors would hard counter the heavy weapons team, and then the Chaos Lord can charge into the Cadishans and disrupt them. But to be honest, it probably isn't even necessary. Maybe double Grenade Launcher Heretics would be fine to deal with this, and that's another problem with not going for a sort of tanky melee hero build on the Inquisitor, and also not having your Sentinel. There are a lot of high model units here that are very vulnerable to things like Grenade Launcher Heretics. Regardless, that's not what's happened in this instance. Got this crossbow bolt pistol Inquisitor, and the game is quickly getting to tier 2. Well, less quickly if Genoesse opts for a second heavy weapons team. Pretty sure Genoesse isn't tier 2, and there is a Blood Crusher coming on the way, so this would be a very poor time to get a second heavy weapons team, that's for sure. Clearly Nerf is going for a strategy here where he relies on the bunker, which he has already upgraded to a medical bunker. You can see he's trying to backpedal his units to it. Obviously they can reinforce off of it quite cheap because they're IG. Now Chaos Lord has gone for his tanky melee build, picking up the Harness of Rage and the Dark Halo. Hit by a Hammer of the Witches though, and charging into a bunker which has a heavy weapons team in it, so that's not exactly ideal. Yeah, the Chaos Lord needs to get out of here. I don't know what he's planning exactly. But yeah, Nerf isn't even tier 2 yet, and the Blood Crusher has hit the field. A little bit of miss micro here from Herald. Needs to actually get the Blood Crusher moving onto the battlefield. I don't know what he's looking at. Okay, he's moving it now. Moving it a couple of inches. Now his micro has been exhausted, so we'll have to take a sip of coffee here and wait to see what happens next. Still suffering from the aftermath of the allergens. Too much pollen going around. Terrible hay fever. What can you do? What can you do, folks? So let's have a look at the ecos here. So Nerf at this point is floating pretty massively. Obviously huge float on the power, but he's not actually that far ahead on the requisition, only 100 rec. It's maybe like 20-second float or something. So he needs to hurry up because obviously he has no counter. Yeah, okay. So obviously he sees the Blood Crusher and he thinks, oh shit, that's a vehicle. Wait, why am I not in tier 2? And he starts the tech. A little bit late, probably about 25 seconds late or something. So that's obviously something that Nerf can look out on. I mean, when you stop buying upgrades or buying new units in tier 1, as soon as you do that, you need to make a conscious decision like, why have I stopped purchasing upgrades? Am I happy with this composition? Okay, well my priority is to get to tier 2 then, right? And at that point on, you need to be constantly checking, how close am I to getting tier 2? Because then you can make the dynamic risk assessment. If the enemies are closing in and there's pressure onto the gen farm, you can make that risk assessment and say, okay, shit, I'm not getting tier 2 for another... Well, I can't even start tier 2 for another 30 seconds. Tier 2 then takes, what, 90 seconds to build? I'm not going to have any AV out for ages, so I might need to get some more troops here, or I'm going to lose my gen farm, and I don't want to lose my gen farm. So, you know, you're making that dynamic decision, changing whether you're going to flesh out that composition or not. That's really important. And if you're thinking like that, you're going to be focusing on your eco more, and you're going to be floating less often. Alright, so we see some upgrades queued up. Yeah, we've got a las cannon coming, and we've got the melter gun coming by the sergeant of the Cadishan Devils. No Inferno pistol, which is fine because he's got the sunk costs of the crossbow bolt pistol anyway. But yeah, this is a pretty huge overextension of the Blood Crusher here. I guess the Herald didn't realise that Nerf was going to already be tier 2, but he should, because at no point has he bashed the gens, so... I mean, expenditure from Nerf was certainly a lot higher than Herald's in tier 1, but come on. He's had that Blood Crusher running around for quite a long time now, with no repercussions. He should have expected that some AV would be on the field pretty soon. Bunkers still been left up as well, which, I don't know. Now, these bunkers have been given some booby traps, but if you move your Aspiring Champion Heretics, your detector unit, up to the bunker, they will actually detect the booby traps, and you can shoot the booby traps, which then can blow up the enemy bunker. That's why those booby traps, if there's detectors on the field, they're really not a very good upgrade, and I would not recommend it. Okay, now we do see the Inferno Pistol. Holy shit, talk about a massive commitment to AV. AC Heretics actually beating the crap out of these Cadishan Devils might actually wipe them. Wow, they get super close. Autoguns for the Heretics bringing them down to 2 or so HP. CL is tying up the las cannon, but that's not really relevant right now. The las cannon's not a concern. There are no AV, no vehicles on the field for that AV to even factor into. But I tell you what, the heavy bolter in the bunker is proving a real problem for Herald. He should be just attack grounding with the Heretics, because obviously they are an anti-garrison unit, and you can maximize their long range by attack grounding. He's getting a little bit of damage onto them, but nothing crazy. And a Hell Fury Strike goes in there, along with the constantly reinforcing Guardsmen. And basically all the supporting units for the Curse Lord are forced off. Curse Lord is still in here trying to do something. You see that the Guardsmen are now double repairing the bunker, which they can indeed do. But they're bleeding. Definitely bleeding. I mean, you see just how tanky he is with this armor. The armor, not only does it give you the extra HP, but it gives you that massive 2.5 HP regen per second. It's really quite something. And then, of course, he's not even using his Dark Halo at the moment, which you can turn on to give him an extra, well, 120 times 5 HP, so an extra 600 HP. And then, every time he hits in melee, he regens more energy. I don't know what happened there. He didn't even bother using Dark Halo, which was a bit odd. Heretics there, trying to get some sort of flank, but man, they're just walking in alone against a heavy weapon team bolt. That's just, you know, not going to work. Get out of there. So we're going to see a Nurgle Predator. I don't dislike this choice, actually. You don't really need the speed. It's not like there's any scary melee threats or stuff like that, and it's mostly infantry on the field, so the Nurgle Predator is going to do some serious damage with the AoE damage over time it has in its cannon shots, and the damage over time it has in its bolter shots. Nurgle Predator is obviously really tanky. I mean, let's have a look what it says. So its movement speed is decreased by 2, which is kind of used for tanks, but it gets a massive 75% HP increase, 3.5 HP per second regen, which is nuts on a vehicle to have that much HP regen with vehicle armor. And it gets melee resist as well. But its cannon gets a big reduction in damage. Oh my god. It is just sitting there in the last cannon right now. This must be like the maximum range though. And I think line of sight should be lost. Oh my god, another hit. Now line of sight should definitely be lost. Yeah. Yeah, that's a bad engagement. Probably don't attack from this angle, because you know that the las cannon is sat over here. You can literally see the las cannon in the window there, sticking out. Little fucker. Don't attack from that angle. Come around this way with your Nurgle Predator. And he'll have to at least move his heavy weapons team out, so they have to tear down, get out, get back in, set up before they can shoot, and you can rotate it across. The las cannon can move if it's the only thing in the bunker, but when there's a heavy bolter in there as well, they can't both be in the same window, you know what I'm saying? So you need to attack from a different angle, but this bunker is causing Herald some pretty massive problems. And it is one of the issues on this map. It's so easy to lock down these 2 VPs with bunkers. I've done it many times as the Inquisitor on this map. She's really strong. You actually see there the combi bolter was setting off some of the IEDs and really hurting the bunker. Sorry about that, guys, my nose was really playing up. But yeah, Herald is just constantly pushing this Predator into a really bad angle. He needs to rotate around. This is not good. The bunker needs to go. He's nearly got 500 red. He could actually nuke the bunker, which would not be a terrible idea. Okay, no, he can't. He's just called in Terminators. Where are they? What did he just do? Yeah, there they are. I mean, I will say for a low-level game, the squad preservation in this game has been pretty great, actually. Nerf was a little bit sloppy with his Inquisitor early on, but yeah, these guys have been doing great since then. I don't think there's actually been any losses. Just a Blood Crusher by Herald, which was a pretty usual for extension, really. But I feel like he intentionally did it, like he was trying to delay Nerf because he knew he was doing a fast tier 3 tech, but I think that was a major misplay, to be honest. I don't really think there was much value to be gained there. And you can see how a Predator is not just a game-winning vehicle for you. A Predator sort of is the nail in the coffin. But it doesn't actually put someone in a coffin in the first place, is the problem. You need a good army for that. But to be fair, Herald has had enough time now because Nerf has been playing super passively, to be honest, hiding around this bunker and not really trying to contest the map. Oh, here we go, here we go. Damage over time from the Chaos Predator's autocannon, the combi bolter's immolate ability, the autocannon from the Chaos Terminators, and grenade launcher heretics. That is a lot of splash AoE damage, and finally we see the IG forces routed and that bunker taken out. Now, it's took Herald a lot of time, and Herald is losing out on VPs quite badly, but honestly, like I say, VPs aren't really too big of a concern when you're playing defensively on this map. It's very hard for the opponent to get a triple cap on you. It's very easy to maintain a 2-to-1 cap. Therefore, if you only go down to 10 VPs, if you have a way better army, it's very difficult to lose even if your opponent has 500 VPs. It's not like they can set up easy back caps on this map. And honestly, Nerf lost a big proportion of his army there, losing both of the heavy weapons teams. Certainly now that he lacks his last cannon, I'm really wondering how he's ever going to be able to kill this Chaos Predator, to be honest. Terminator's showing why Terminators are badasses there, just tanking all the damage from double plasma gun Guardsman, from the upgraded Cadishans, and even from a Melter pistol Inquisitor. Melter is meant to be the best ranged weapon to use against super heavy infantry. They tanked like gods. Unfortunately, one of them did die, which is quite unlucky given their amount of HP. Not even lost half of their maximum health. But yeah, they just routed the entire IG army. In fact, not only did they rout them, they actually wiped the Cadishan Devils out as well. And I think at this point, it's just going to be a slow grind for Herald to win this game. I mean, I don't see what Nerf can do. Like, Nerf's got some Stormtroopers coming out now. I assume they're going to be like a Melter Stormtrooper squad. And you could go for the Melter Bomb into Manticore play against the tank, but this is a Nurgle Predator. Against a normal tank, that probably would kill it because they're just so fragile. But against a Nurgle Predator, man, it could just sit there and eat all 4 Manticore missiles and it wouldn't fucking die. And then even, let's say he does kill it, Herald is just floating so much requisition now. So much resources in general. Like, he's going to have a super unit before things end. Like I said, it ate all 4 Manticore missiles and it doesn't give a fuck. You know, at high level that would never happen because tanks are so fast moving. You would need to set it up with a snare. So whether that's the lascannon snare or in this case, the melter bomb snare of the stormtroopers. But here it's a low level game. Herald didn't even react, but it doesn't matter because the Nurgle Predator is so tanky. And we're not even seeing the melter bomb here, which is a bit weird. Kind of a serious miss macro there from Herald. I don't think he was paying respect to the Inquisitor with their Inferno pistol. I don't know if he even noticed these stormtroopers with their melter guns. But yeah, the Chaos Lord should have been tying them up a long time ago. Really aggressive plays from Herald to try and close this game out. I mean, it wasn't really necessary, but wow, it's actually cost him quite a lot. He's rebought his Chaos Lord. And he built that shrine, and there goes all of his resources because his upkeep is so high right now. It's actually gone down quite a bit now. He's lost the Nurgle Predator. Obviously, it helps that Herald has had all these points for ages, and Nerf hasn't even had this requisition for quite a while, I feel like. Don't know when this one went down as well. But yeah, Nerf needs to get some map control. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's really hard because he's stuck in tier 2 against a tier 3 opponent. And it's alright if you have like a fully fleshed out tier 2 army, but Nerf doesn't. Nerf actually has the same number of troops as the Herald. A lot of wargear swaps on the Chaos Lord. Perhaps a bit too many. I didn't actually see that Dark Halo be used quite a lot, so I think that might have been a bit of a waste of money. I think the Harness of Rage was really good for the durability. And then yeah, you can get Demonic Visage later on. But given that you already had the Dark Halo, I won't be getting the Demonic Visage. Just stick with the Dark Halo, especially since it synergizes so well with the Mantle of Hate. Not the Mantle of Hate, the Mantle of Rage. Now we see the Mantle of Hate. So this is another armor, you know, it makes him a little bit tankier. It's not as tanky as the Mantle of Rage, even though it's in tier 2. The main reason you get this armor is the Drain Life ability. So that ability, it immobilizes one model. Not a unit, one model. But it also does really high spike damage to that model. So it's actually really good to control enemy squad leaders and actually try and wipe the squad leaders or their heroes. Or sub-commanders. If the enemy gets a sub-commander, this wargear is amazing against them. And when the ability finishes, it throws the enemy. So one thing to do, it throws them away from the Chaos Lord. So let's say you're getting a big engagement here where a Librarian's running down and you've got your Chaos Army here. You want the Chaos Lord to flank around and then drain life the Librarian when the Chaos Lord is behind him. He picks him up and he throws the Librarian into your army, and then your Bloodletters can jump him and wipe him. So let's see. Yeah, there you go. Inquisitor is getting lifted up by the Drain Life. You see how much damage that does on its own. Nearly kills her. The healing on the Chaos Lord is okay. It's a bonus though. It really isn't that big of a deal. You do not get it for the heal. You get it for the immobilization and the damage. You'd still get it even if it didn't do the heal. That's how inconsequential the heal is on that armor. Even though it's called Drain Life, you might think, oh, okay, it's really good for sustainability. No. If you want sustainability, literally, you just get the tier 1 armor, the Harness of Rage. That is the best tanky melee armor for the Chaos Lord. It gives him more max HP than that armor does, and it gives him way more HP regen, over double HP regen. It is by far the best tanky armor for the Chaos Lord. But clearly, Herald was getting a little bit pissed off with this Inquisitor, and I don't blame him. She has been quite influential with that Inferno pistol. But I feel like he should have focus-fired her a little bit more before moving in and draining her life with the Chaos Lord. But even then, I mean, got close to nearly wiping her. She only got out with like 60 HP. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell me how much damage the Drain Life ability actually does. Anyway, there's a little chance for a comeback here from Nerf because Herald has been putting so much money into the Chaos Lord, which I don't really agree with. I mean, I don't know, that whole play at the end with the Nurgle Predator pushing up that much, dropping the Chaos Shrine, dropping all these upgrades into the Chaos Lord. Man, you could have just saved up and got a Land Raider Phobos by now. You plant a Land Raider Phobos here, how the hell is Nerf gonna win? The amount of ranged firepower you'd have would just be unstoppable. Especially because Herald's done a pretty damn good job actually keeping his heretics still alive. He's still got both of those heretics, so the repair support for the Phobos would be decent. But yeah, Nerf is pressing his advantage while he can. He's got this triple cap going, and the VPs are slowly ticking down for Herald, but he has too many, really. Gonna get a powerful Manticore shot. Where is that Manticore? Oh, it's pretty close. Yeah, it's down there near the contested VP, so you can see the travel time of the Manticore shots was not that long. But yeah, that Manticore needs to back off now, because these Terminators do have an autocannon, which will make pretty quick work of its paper thin armor. One thing, I don't know if you guys know, but the Manticore, the flight duration of its Storm Eagle missiles, it actually is affected by the range that you use them at. So if the Manticore is really close to the target, then the missiles will hit faster and they'll have a lot less time to react than if you use it at max range. So that is obviously quite a risky play, because you don't want to... Generally, you do want your Manticore to be as far away from the combat as possible. They're extremely fragile, with only 370... Hang on! Is that 373 HP? Oh, because it's level 2. Wow, so they have even less. Yeah, like, what is it, 325 or something HP? Very fragile. However, you know, just something to consider. If you feel like you can get closer to the enemy because it is safe, perhaps you've got a big line of sight blocker blocking you, perhaps there's a valley or some impassable terrain. That way you can get really close, but outside of weapon range, they can't approach you. Then yeah, that is actually a really good play, because you'll give your opponent less reaction time to dodge your missiles. Just something to think about. Now, I've not actually seen it be used yet, but the Excruciators gives you the assailability with the Inquisitor, and it pins a single unit in place, as well as doing a little bit of damage over time. If you pin the Terminators in place, they can't retreat, so then it's a very easy opportunity to hit them with 4 Manticore missiles. Then yeah, you can drop a Hell Fury Strike on top of that. That can very easily wipe Terminators. It's actually one of the scariest things that the Inquisitor has in her toolkit against Terminators. Makes her a very good counter as a hero to Terminators. And just at the end there, you've seen the lack of value that the Manticore often gets, and the reason you see it very rarely in high-level games. Herald kept his composure. He's seen that the Manticore was tagging his heretics. It doesn't matter. They're not going to wipe him, because the aspiring champion himself wouldn't die. He just kept his cool, moved the heretics forward. They took barely any damage, and this massive investment just not really doing anything. At that point, Nerf needed to push forward, so the Manticore was pretty much the worst decision he could get. There was no setup teams that the Manticore could be used to disrupt. That is their primary purpose, hitting immobile targets. Now, you could have used the Manticore with the Excruciators, like I said, to take out the Terminators, which would have been a play. I don't think it really mattered. I think Herald was winning with the engagements anyway at this point with his highly leveled up CSM, Chaos Lord, ticks. But really, I think the main problem here for Nerf was, once he got those sort of victories, killed the Blood Crusher, was actually winning engagements, holding the mid with his bunker, he got too passive. He needed to move out, start capping more of the map. These areas, I feel like they were controlled by Herald for far too long. And this part of the map was basically never pressured. But yeah, game goes to Herald in the end. Obviously a low-level game, guys, but tell me what you think about that one. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like, leave a comment down below as well. It will support me in getting this video out to a few more people. The views have been struggling recently for some reason. God damn you, YouTube algorithm. We will defeat you one day. Thanks for tuning in, folks. That is all from your boy Torpid. Signing out.